link between Crieff and Wetherby because of the cattle droving trade that happened in the 17th and 18th centuries. So Crieff was the centre for all of the cattle that were raised in the Highlands of Scotland. They were all driven down over the summer months into Crieff in October, tens of thousands of them, and they were sold on, and then they were driven south to Norfolk to be fattened up and then brought to Smithgate Market. And Wetherby is halfway between Edinburgh and London, and also it's a good place to ford the River Wharfe. So maybe Rob can give a few more words.
Yeah, okay, bonjour, Wetherby was quite fortunate really in that it's on the Great North Road, it's a direct road north to south, and in the 1650s it was sort of clearly evident that this trade was happening. It grew and grew until the peak around 1780, when there'd be something like 30,000 cattle would be coming through Wetherby on an annual basis, and predominantly in the autumn, when the cattle had been fattened up as best they could during the summer months. And the crofters really needed to make some money to pay their laird, their dues for their croft. They'd keep some cattle, try and keep cattle over winter, but then they'd have to sell some because of the poor ground conditions. And they'd sell them to the local dealers, drovers in the Highlands, who then, as Neil says, bring them into Crieff. They'd then be bought up by the thousands sometimes, so a dealer drover would buy 1,000 and drive them south. But they'd be broken up into small pockets of 200 cattle, and 200 cattle could be driven by 4 or 5 guys. And it would take around about 4 weeks to get them from Crieff right down to East Anglia, to a place called St Faith's Market near Norwich. That was the main fair that would be going to. And from there, the other dealers would then take them into their area of prime agricultural, lush grazing ground, and fatten them up for the next few weeks. And that was because they would lose about a third of the body weight in this 400-mile trek down through the country. So they're travelling around 10 to 15 miles a day. So in real terms, there would be at Bury Bridge on one morning and expect to be at Wetherby by that evening, and then the next day they would travel from Wetherby and get as far as maybe Ferry Bridge. That's just put in terms the sort of small distances we're travelling. And it will be generations of dealers really. There's no maps, there's no GPS, so they're really through their own knowledge, through the grown up through the fathers and relations, they gain that knowledge. But if you imagine you're a young lad in the Highlands, your route to any sort of business success, it could come with being a cattle drover. Really to them it's like going to the moon. It's something really exciting, and if you had anything about you at that time, perhaps cattle droving was for you. So they're earning quite a bit of money as compared to a local agricultural worker. It's a real feather in the cap. When they come back and they can tell the stories to all their friends about what they've seen, it's like another world to them. So for Wetherby, in terms of what we benefited, it brought a constant trade which local farmers could feed into, so they'd have their own cattle sort of being bred for the Wetherby market, for the droving market. The drover dealer might want to sell off some cattle that he's bringing down, and he's seen it's maybe getting injured, it's maybe stumbling, maybe hobbling, and he can sell that and buy some more prime cattle that he can then walk on. Quite surprisingly, the cattle were shod. They have metal plates attached to the hooves of the feet, and no doubt there's lots of those in the River Wharfe where they crossed. And the way they shod them was the cattle couldn't lift their feet, so they tipped them on the side. They tied the feet and forefeet together and tipped them over, and that's how they did it. During the late 1700s into the 1800s, there was the Napoleonic Wars on, and the Napoleonic Wars were quite beneficial to the market because you would want to feed the troops and the sailors, and so much of the beef that was sought by the Admiralty was coming from Scotland, and it was then salted for that market. And of course, when that market finished, the wars were over. The cattle dealers and drovers found that the market was dissipating and disappearing for them. in that account. And eventually, the demise of the cattle drovers was through steamships and the railways. Wetherby's dealers found that the market that was held in the high street perhaps lasted a little bit longer because we had the railway. And so eventually, Wetherby, though, through that period of time, it really did prosper from this, the fact that the benefit of the dealing that came through the town gave confidence to the businesses of the town, which developed sort of other trades, tanning trade and other leather good trades, which eventually saw a lot of families raised to their own prosperity, and they were able to find better outcomes for their own family members. So I've written a little book, so I'm not going to sell the book, but it is on sale downstairs, and I was encouraged to write that through this sort of interest in local history and the fact it sort of linked to my work at the bandstand. So hopefully Neil's going to be showing us a film.
Yeah, so I've got a little film that I've brought, prepared by Crieff Visitor Centre, which kind of gives you a flavour of what it was like for those people back in the day driving the cattle down from the north of Scotland. So hope you'll enjoy this.